I think it can go one of two ways, right? If the players don't have that mindset, or if I don't have that mindset, it's going to.
Welcome to the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and Brian Sexton have all the news and information to get you ready for today's game.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by the University of Florida, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, Baptist Health, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good afternoon from EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. Brian Sexton and Mike Dempsey with you from the Hyundai Studios here inside the Miller Electric Center. And we welcome you to the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. I was there this morning. As you can imagine, with Christmas just a few days away, even in the 7 o'clock hour, the lines were astoundingly low.
I believe it.
If you're headed out shopping, get there now. There will not be any downtime this week. Not for football either. We've got the Jaguars and Raiders coming up at 4:25 Eastern time right here on these very airwaves. Football Saturday, football Sunday, football Monday, football Wednesday, mixing the college games and the bowl games, and it's just a football extravaganza. Are you happy?
As you want.
Are you joyful? Are you triumphant?
I'm not into college football like some people are. So for me,
I just mean football, yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that we had an NFL doubleheader yesterday. I'm happy about one on Christmas. We got a triple header next Saturday, so let's go.
Happy, happy, happy.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Not a lot of dominant storylines this week with this football team, and that's what you get when you are sitting 3-11. You're playing a Raiders football team that's 2-12, I think. If I've got that right, they're one game up in terms of the standings, and both teams, I don't want to say playing out the string because that doesn't do it justice, but playing to the end of the season, Mike, and so motivation is a big factor for a lot of these players.
Yeah, well, for the players, there's always motivation, in my opinion, unless you're really entrenched and established, and some of those guys just try to make it to the finish line healthy.
That's true.
But if you're a young player and you particularly on a team that's not going anywhere, you don't know if you're going to have the same coaching staff, you're going to have the same front office. You are trying to put your resume on film to show them what you're capable of doing and show them what kind of person and player you are, that you're going to fight, you're getting paid to be here, and you're going to fight through Week 18 regardless.
And one of those guys is Brenton Strange, the young tight end who last week had his best pro game, at least in terms of catches, caught 11 of 12 passes that were thrown his way. And after the game, he made a comment, which just resonated with me, and I'm sure it did with you also, where he said, the question was, and I'm paraphrasing, what's your motivating factor? How do you keep playing when you're not playing for the playoffs? How do you have a day like that? He said, I love football. It's who I am. It's what I do. I'll be here on Monday ready to go. I don't care whether we win or whether we lose. I love football. And I love that answer. And the head coach knows how important it is to handle this season and its adversity the right way. He's trying to build a culture that handles tough situations with tough guys like Brenton. And it's that sort of an answer that resonates not just with me and you, the fans who are listening, but also with the head coach.
I think it can go one of two ways, right? If the players don't have that mindset, or if I don't have that mindset, it's going to set you back even further. But if you come into it and you embrace it, all right, we know our situation. We got it. We understand that. But I think these next 3 weeks really can set us up for the future, for the offseason, for next year, and how we can build and where we need to add pieces and all that kind of stuff, the development of our roster. But having guys like Brenton make those comments, I mean, those are the type of players you want, right? You want those football players that love being here in this building, soaking up football, soaking up ball, love being on the grass. Those are the guys that you can build your team around, and he's one of several, obviously, and many that we have on the team that can do that.
My culture is such a big word. You can interpret it in many different ways, but if I'm the head coach, that's what I want my culture to be. We show up and play because we love the game.
Sure. Ultimately, that's got to lead to success. I mean, that is not enough, right? Talent is a big part of the equation.
Without a doubt.
You've got to have that kind of mentality, absolutely. And I do think you can learn something about your team in the final few weeks with certain players getting more opportunities. We've talked about DeAndre Prince getting more playing time. We saw Monteric Brown play, I think, 100% of the snaps last week. We're seeing more from Mason Smith in the last several weeks as well. So that's good. I don't know if the win-loss record means anything in terms of carrying it over to next year. You can win these next 3. It doesn't guarantee you a single thing. I think that whole thing resets. There may be a few good feelings. It's more about how the players perform, whatever the final score is. If Brenton Strange builds on what he did last week, he can go into the offseason with some momentum.
Since you bring that up, that was another topic of conversation with the head coach on both Wednesday and Friday. Doug, having played the game, he came in as an undrafted rookie in 1991 with Don Shula and Dan Marino. Good tandem to learn the game from it. He was on and off the roster, cut 6 different times before he finally stuck. And then, if you know his history, went from Miami to Green Bay to Cleveland and into Philadelphia, and the coaching career that he has today. So it's not an overstatement to say that he has a deep respect for the game. Defensive end Trayvon Walker told me that the players are playing hard because they love the game, but also because the coach is out there on the practice field working hard and setting a standard for them all.
I feel like Coach he's doing a good job of that energy. Obviously, it should start with us, obviously, but as a head coach, he's coming in every day with great energy, and I feel like that just carries over to everybody else in the building. And even though we as our own individuals should come in the building with that same fire up under us as we did as day one when we first came in, I feel like that's what we're doing. And for me personally, that's just how I look at the situation. I want to treat every day like it's my first day at the job.
You know, I'm out on the practice field every Wednesday, and this week I noticed that Doug Peterson, during some special teams drills, had an arm pad on and had jumped out there and gotten in the middle of it all, which is why I asked Trayvon about this when we were in the locker room a little bit later. We talk about the players having motivation. Coaches do too.
Well, yeah. I mean, not every coaching staff would, by the way. You know, some of them feel like the writing's on the wall. They're not going to be back. I'm not talking about this particular unit. But like Trayvon Walker said, I think all these guys are professionals. They should show up with that motivation, but that's not human nature. Not everyone's going to be that motivated every single day. You think about it as well, and you think, well, they only have 17 of these opportunities. That's true, but they go through a physical grind. They know that the prize of the playoffs is out of reach. So to have the coaching staff come in and show that they're still fully engaged, and that's what Trayvon is responding to, can't be anything but a positive.
Fun is supposed to be part of this as well. It's fun. It's not fun to be 3-11.
It's fun to win.
It is fun to win. Not that we have experienced a whole lot of that this year. Mac Jones was fun last week. It didn't turn in to be a whole lot of fun because he threw the interception at the end of the ball game there. But he was asked about the levity that he brings to the game, the way he plays the game. And he listen, you and I both know we've seen some of the suits that he wears. If you watch some of his post-game stuff, the guy loves to just be himself. Last couple of weeks, the offense has gotten a little bit better. They had an opening drive touchdown last week. They scored 25 points. And I asked him about that fun persona, and is it just him, or is he seeing some of that with guys who are playing hard because they're enjoying it even at the end of this season?
I think so. I think we've had some good results here in terms of like moving the ball and like you said, having fun, guys making plays, and really not letting one play turn into like a snowball effect. Does that make sense? So just kind of just playing each play one play at a time and keeping it loose, whether we did something good on the first series or something bad. So you got to play each play, like I say always, and I think it definitely carries over to them. I think that fits the personalities in the room, myself included, and the coaches. You know, it's not been the best season so far, but we're also still striving for perfection and keeping it fun and loose and trying to win.
You know, Mac's one of those guys, he's got a lot of reason to take this very, very seriously because he's here on just a one-year deal. He is auditioning for whatever he has next year, which it would seem would be a backup somewhere in the National Football League. I don't know that he is a starter based on what we've seen from him the last 6-7 weeks.
Well, at that, and he's not clearly a starter, for one, right? But there are usually a couple of situations every year where, like this year with Las Vegas, where you don't have necessarily a clear-cut starter. We're going to bring in some different guys. We'll see who emerges. Even those opportunities, I think, are going to be a few and far between this year because you had so many quarterbacks drafted in the first round last year, so they're the heir apparents, and you've got some of these really bad teams are going to be drafting at the top of the draft this year, and that's the direction they're going to go. They're not going to go with, no offense to Mac Jones, but a retread.
Sure.
Right? Now, if he lights it up for the final 3 weeks, he can put himself into a better position, but the life of a backup quarterback in the NFL is not the worst one either.
No, what did Chase Daniel make in all of his years as a backup? Like $48, $49 million?
Yeah, lots and
like
lots.
That.
He never was a starter, not on a full-time basis.
No, there is a chance that he could become a Geno Smith, from the Giants to the Chargers to the Seahawks and reinvent himself. But
there's that chance.
We haven't seen it, and at this point, what we're looking at is a quarterback who's getting incrementally better week to week, and you hope that today he comes out and puts his best game together.
Well, absolutely, and he does have that spirit, that energy that you talk about. He loves to play, but he also has a reason, as we talked about, to play for the postseason. Geno Smith took until he was about 30 years old, really, for him to click. You look at Sam Darnold now. You get with the right circumstance, the right coach, you've been through enough, you've seen enough, and you weed some of the mistakes out of your game, you can be a reclamation project. I don't know if that's going to be the case for Mac Jones, but sometimes it's a longer wait than just the next season to come.
All right. Well, listen, we talked earlier about seeing Trey Prince, and I think we're going to see plenty of him today. Young guys on the field at the end of the season. We talk about it from a developmental standpoint. It's really important for these guys to be able to take something into the offseason that's not just developmental, but something that they know, something that they can trust, so that when they get into a position in the offseason, they know what it takes based on their time on the field. Peterson has a lot of young guys who are having to play, and some that he wants to see in action. He wants them working to finish the season because, honestly, it's the best place for guys to develop. He knows that they can't afford to waste these weeks of practice and game time because the time on the field at the end of the season matters a lot.
I look back to what Buster did his rookie year and then the chances he got to play early on, how that catapulted him into this season. You know, and so that's a great example, right? And then even looking ahead, like the confidence that you see in Tank and the confidence you see in Brenton, and you know, Anton's been a day one starter, but the young players that have played, Antonio Johnson playing more this year, and the more, or the better, I should say, that they play in these last couple of games will give them the confidence, I think, moving forward.
And that's what the Jaguars need. A lot of confident young players next season.
Yeah, you can get better in practice, but you really improve by putting yourself in game situations and seeing if you've got it. You put the mental together with the physical, and hopefully we'll get to see, like you said, a lot of DeAndre Prince. It sounds like it. Doug Peterson's talked about it. He is one in particular, and all these young guys need to take advantage of their opportunities.
All right, we've been, 30,000-foot view. That's what you do when you're 3-11, and there's not as many storylines to focus in on. There is one, though, today, Mike. And that's this defense, which just utterly let down in the fourth quarter last week and allowed the Jets and Aaron Rodgers to be able to take Devontae Adams and do whatever they wanted with him. And so veteran linebacker Foye Oluokun, who's been a mainstay on this defense for 3 seasons now, it's fair for him, by the way, to have expected a better outcome this season. Everyone did. But after last week's letdown in particular, it's fair to ask him what it will take for this defense to finish today against the Raiders, next week against the Titans, and in the season finale against the Colts.
I want to just be able to execute all the way through the game, really. I think playing well throughout the game, but having 1-off, 2-off plays, at the end of the day, I want to win the game. You can have a great game and lose, and I would not be happy. So being able to execute all the way through the game and have it come out to a victory, I think is really good. But really just keep playing with the group, the young guys, bring them along. Physical, fast, but really executing our plays with communication and understanding how people attack us and just being sound all the way through the game.
So last week, there were a couple of young guys on the field on that critical 3rd down and 5, and one of them blew it. One of them went running with the tight end in a different direction and just totally let his focus get away. And so you win with the young guys occasionally, like they did against the Titans, and then you lose badly, like they did against the Jets with some of these young guys. And for a guy like Foye, he finds himself out there being a professor trying to get everybody in the right spot.
Well, we know he's going to be in the right spot, and we know that he's had that burden, responsibility, however you describe it, since he's been here, because we've had this mental lapses with guys blowing their keys or, and you hear Doug Peterson talk about how we practice and we don't translate it to the game. It's not every down, Brian. Sometimes they look really good. They look fantastic against the Jets in the first half, and then here comes Devontae Adams, and they couldn't stop him, and it was busted coverages, blown plays, and that's been the story of their season. You might have 60 snaps on defense, and you could do it all perfectly for 57 of them. If you give up big, huge chunk plays, which they've been doing, they give up more explosive plays than any defense in the National Football League.
And any, obviously, in Jaguars history. I mean, statistically, this is a defense that has given up big plays at key moments. I mean, you just think about them. The one from the Green Bay game and pops into your mind instantly. The touchdown pass to Devonta Smith, which had a safety that was out of position. If he's just over the top where he's supposed to be and doesn't blow the coverage, then they don't score that touchdown, and you may have a completely different game at the end of it. This defense, and this secondary in particular, has been a cavalcade, a cascade of blown coverages and mental mistakes all season long. And that's something that has to get addressed fast in the offseason this year.
Right. Yeah, because I don't think you can
there's nothing
fix
left.
that in the next 3 games.
No, you can't.
Not completely, anyway. You
it
can
is what it
strive
is.
to play better, but this has been a season-long epidemic. It's not going to all of a sudden turn around on a dime.
All right, JP will be in at 2:30 Eastern with more of the big stories and more sound from the locker room and coaches coming up in hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. But first,
honestly, I really didn't find my love of the game until my rookie year here in Jackson when it was taken away from me.
that's running back Travis Etienne Jr., who stops by in this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. But next, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco's perspective. This is the Publix Tailgate Show, and you're listening on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in Miami and Houston. Watch them win in Philly, Detroit, Nashville, and Las Vegas. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Hey fans, it's Tyson Campbell, cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, your game day is getting even tastier with Al's Pizza in the stadium. And every time we get a pick, you'll score. If the Jaguars get one interception, you'll enjoy buy one, get one free pizza at any Al's Pizza location Monday through Thursday after the home game. 2 interceptions, a free dessert. And 3 interceptions, that's a free appetizer. Just tell them you want the Jags pick. Up your game and get your Al's Pizza at the game or any of their locations.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show from inside the Miller Electric Center. This is the Hyundai Studios. Brian Sexton and Mike Dempsey with you. 4:25 Eastern Time for the Raiders and Jaguars from Allegiant Stadium just off the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada. And there's lots of storylines going on around the NFL. Not a ton around the Jaguars, but there is one that you started the conversation with Pete Prisco this week, one that a lot of people are talking about.
I think it's been the storyline that we've been talking about for the last, 6 weeks or so. Brian Thomas Jr. needs to get the ball more. And then a week and a half ago at halftime, they decided we're just going to pepper him with targets. It worked out. Last week, he got 14 of them, and that trend has got to continue. And Pete and I have been talking about this for a while, so I think we're both happy with the recent results.
Hey, Mike, he's special. And there were periods of time during the season where he didn't get the football or even get targeted, which was amazing to me. But he's a special player, and they have themselves a true bona fide number one wide receiver. And every time they throw him the football, he seems to go out there and make plays. And the best thing about him, though, is he's improved on the little things. And you saw that on the touchdown and when he beat the corner in a one-on-one situation. That route, he doesn't run that early in the season, but he ran it well and made a good play and got a touchdown out of it. So I think the growth of him is impressive, and they have to be thrilled that they have that true number one wide receiver who might be in the elite of the league.
He's playing like it certainly this year, and the stats back it up. All right, Pete, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. going forward in the future, certainly, and we're happy about that. But trip to Vegas this week, let me ask you from your overall NFL perspective, right? Because I don't track what happens with teams that go to Vegas on a regular basis. Is Vegas a distraction in, advantage of the home team with all the bright lights and everything that's going on? Or do teams have a pretty good handle on making sure their players don't go off the reservation when they make this trip?
No, teams have a handle on it, and they make sure they don't go off the reservation. I mean, look, I'll give you an example. Last year at the Super Bowl, and Logan Ryan tells the story all the time, the 49ers, he was with them, and they stayed about, 20 miles from the strip, but they weren't allowed to go to the casinos at all. And I think teams have put that mandate in. Don't be seen doing it. Now, will some knucklehead sneak out and go do it? Obviously. But I think for the most part, teams have done a good job of keeping, not just the casino, but the drinking and the partying and all that away from it. You're there for a business trip. You're there for one night. If you want to go back to Vegas in March, go back to Vegas in March and live it up. But for this one moment, you can't just curtail yourself and stay in the room. Go have dinner and stay in the room. I think they can. I think they will. Now, there's always going to be guys who go out and do their thing, and that was no different for every team that I've ever covered. But I think for the most part, teams have a good handle on it.
All right, well, they need to have a good handle on Brock Bowers today, obviously, right? I mean, he is the linchpin of that offense, Pete. But over the last couple of weeks, he's been muted, only 3 catches in each of those games, hasn't really wrecked the game plan. But we know the Jags are susceptible to the tight end, have been. They are susceptible to giving up big plays on defense. What kind of attention should Brock Bowers draw today?
As much as possible. And you talk about his production being down, and a lot of that has to do with the quarterback play. The quarterback play hadn't been as good, but you're right. I mean, this guy is special. He, leading up until 3 weeks ago, he had a chance to have the catch record for tight ends and the yardage record if he really went off down the stretch and possibly have the greatest tight end season of all time. Now, it's slowed a little bit because of the quarterback play, but you better double him and take him away or do everything you possibly can to take him away, because he's the guy that they feature in that offense. He's the guy they should feature in the offense. And we know Jacksonville's had problems with tight ends, so make him the focal point of your defense.
In addition to Brian Thomas Jr., what would you like to see the Jags do offensively to take advantage of the Raiders and their shortcomings today?
Again, I thought they ran the ball okay at times last week, and that's a good sign. I didn't necessarily think that Etienne ran the ball great. He missed a couple, bounced a couple where he should have put him in there. So I think running the ball, they're more than capable of getting that going. And then when you do that, that opens up things, and it opens up Brian Thomas. So I think, run the ball because Mac Jones can't go out there and throw it 35 times and consistently think they're going to win the game. But if he has success running the ball, I think that opens things up. So I would like to see him run the football a little bit.
How do you feel like Mac Jones is playing right now, though?
Mez and mez, or as they say, 50-50. Some good, some bad, better. He was awful in the first couple games. I mean, with the capital H, but he's gotten better since then. It's still not great, but it is better, and that's, he's a backup quarterback in the National Football League. That's what he is.
I had people talking to me throughout the week saying, man, I couldn't believe we lost to a 3-win Jets team. I said, well, that team's got a lot of talent, and they've got a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. That's not the team that the Jaguars are facing today, Pete. What do you expect the outcome to be?
I think Jacksonville's going to do something that I wouldn't want them to do if I were in the organization, which is win. Look, this Raider team, they're in the same mix trying to get the number 1 overall pick, and I think that Jacksonville's going to go in there and win the football game and play better. There were some good things from the defense at times last week. They do have to pressure the quarterback better, but this isn't a great Raiders team. I think Jacksonville goes in there and wins the football game.
Press Taylor this week talked about Brian Thomas Jr. Said he was way ahead in terms of football intellect, let alone that he's a bright kid. And then as he has grown, there have been opportunities for him that might not have been there because Christian Kirk's on injury reserve, because Dave Davis is on injury reserve. So Pete mentioned that there are routes that he is running these days that he wasn't running early in the season because the veteran players were there. I mean, the more you hear about Brian Thomas Jr., the more there is to like. The better a draft pick he appears to be.
Look, Doug Peterson said he could have been doing some of this stuff all year. Well, yes, right. So I think they were slow to recognize just how good he was, because he can do all this stuff. And look, just because Gabe Davis is a vet or Christian Kirk is a vet, Brian Thomas Jr. is more dangerous with the ball in his hands. And, he should have been commanding more targets all along. Finally, they've woken up on that, and I think they see they have a potentially elite talent on their hands. And it's great to hear that he's growing in the technical aspects of the game, because the physical skills are abundant.
Listen, it's interesting what they may do at the wide receiver position next year, because Christian Kirk is paid to be a one. I mean, he's on your cap for $25 million next year. Gabe Davis is $14 million, and neither one of them is comparable to what Brian Thomas Jr. gives you. They may have to restructure how they do some things, or they may have to make some changes so that their roster is balanced in terms of he's the number one, the ball goes to him.
Well, there's no question, and they can reallocate some of that money. And keep in mind, we are well aware that right before Christian Kirk got hurt, there was a report that he was on the brink of being traded away at that point in time. So, and that was before the Jags were eliminated from playoff consideration. And, he's been a good guy, and I think he's been worth the contract that he got signed to, even though there were a lot of eyebrows raised when he signed.
But you can't pay him $24 million if he's not your one.
Not if he's not the one. Not this team, I don't think.
No. Don't think so either. All right, well, our player interview this week is presented by Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. They're the official sports medicine provider of these Jacksonville Jaguars. And I caught up with Jaguars running back Travis Etienne Jr., who's put together a couple of good games in an otherwise off season for the former 1,000-yard rusher, double-digit touchdown producer. He's smiling, not because he was having a great season, but because he'd just been handed the National Football League Professional Football Writers Association's Good Guy Award for handling a bad season with grace and poise.
I mean, it's very cool. I feel like it's a humbling experience. Just let me know that I'm on the right track, and just continue to do the things that I do and be myself, no matter circumstances, no matter how life's going. Just continue to be yourself and be a great person.
You're a young veteran. It's been a tough year. How have you led the younger players in this locker room? Because I see them talking to you on the sidelines.
Honestly, just by actions. Just continue to walk and just continue to believe in coming here. And I put the same work in that I did in training camp as I do now, and probably a little more just taking care of my body. And just those guys seeing how professional just work day in, day out, no matter the situation, to have my body to the best I could be on Sunday.
You have to have a love of the game on a year like this, right? I mean, where did your love of the game come from?
Honestly, I really didn't find my love of the game until my rookie year here in Jackson, when it was taken away from me when I didn't play. I feel like that was my first time ever having an injury where I had to miss games and stuff like that. So just understanding that all my life I dreamed to be in the NFL, and then me coming in that year, the dreams that I had for that season, it didn't go my way. And I just understanding that every time I get an opportunity to get on the field, that I have to make the most out of it. I have to be grateful for it no matter how I'm feeling. I feel like that's a safe place for me, just football. I love football, and I feel like just going out there, and I want to be an inspiration to others by the way that I play. So I feel like it's easy to go out there and just go out there and play, because it's a game at the end of the day, and I just love playing football.
Tell me about the offense last week, 25 points, opening drive, touchdown. Do you feel like there's some momentum at the end of the year? And how much of that is just time on task with Mac after playing with Trevor for most of the season?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. Definitely time on task with Mac, and definitely us just being better in third down situations. Honestly, being better in the first and second down, getting the third and short so we'd be able to convert those third downs. And Matt just coming out there, controlling the huddle. I feel like it was a combination of everything, just everything coming together. We just got to find a way to score more points so we come with a W.
Vegas, Christmas, an opportunity to win. It could be a fun flight home if you guys go out there and handle business, right?
Most definitely. It doesn't get any better than that. We definitely glad they get the W. It's a long flight back, so we definitely want to be relaxed and having a great time.
It's been a strange year for him. The fumble on opening day in Miami, the bobbled pass that came at a critical time against the Eagles. He's had some injuries that have slowed him down. But it would be good to see, because he's going to be here. He signed his 5th-year option. He comes in under $6 million, which is a bargain for a guy who's capable of 1,000 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. Need to find a role for him and work on that the next 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, I think the thing that's been lacking from Travis this year has been the explosive plays, right? And you look at his rookie season, or I guess his second season after he missed his rookie
2022.
season, but 5.1 yards a carry. Fell way off last year. He's only bumped it up to 4 this year. Hasn't had a 20-yard run since week 3 of this season. So that breakaway speed is, I think, the most dangerous element of his game. He's a competent receiver. He's a good runner, but it's the ability to take one to the house that he hasn't shown this year that's been lacking. So hopefully he can maybe remind us of who he's capable of being down the stretch here.
Right, we could see a lot of running of the football today against these Raiders. Coming up in 15 minutes, Hall of Famer Tony Boselli and Jeff Lageman join us from the broadcast booth at Allegiant Stadium. But up next,
like I said, he's always in that mindset. He naturally feels that way. He doesn't feel like he's a guy who's behind, who's trying to work his way up.
That's tight ends coach Richard Angulo talking about Brenton Strange. We'll hear from the tight ends coach on the talented ends on both sides of the field today. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show. This is Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go!
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Sims Crane and Equipment is the Southeast premier crane rental company since 1959, serving Florida, Georgia, and Alabama with cranes up to 800 ton for all of your heavy lifting needs. Sims Crane is the Tadano rough terrain crane dealer for the state of Florida. Inspired by the past, committed to the future. Choose Sims Crane and Equipment for all of your heavy lifting needs. Sims Crane is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
We are back inside the Miller Electric Center and the Hyundai Studios with the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian and Mike with you. The Raiders and Jaguars kick off at 4:25 Eastern Time from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And we now have our weekly conversation with Rick Ballou.
So here we go, the battle for draft positioning. The 3-11 Jags against the 2-12 Raiders, two teams limping towards the end of the year. The intriguing part here will be about the Raiders and whether or not they fire Antonio Pierce after only 1 year as a coach. Tom Brady is now the minority owner, and he's got tremendous power. What if Brady says to Mark Davis, hey, I want my former teammate. I want Mike Vrabel. How much power does he have? Brady's involvement with the Raiders is fine. It's the fact that he's a national broadcaster. That's the problem. This situation has been buried for most of the year by the media. A lot of it's because the Raiders, they're not a good football team. I was at the Super Bowl years ago in Phoenix. The entire 2 weeks, all people talked about was Deflategate and how the Patriots got the advantage. What is the difference here? What about the Raiders? How can the NFL allow this? Brady to call games when he is a partial owner. Sure, there are restrictions for Brady. They've been made. He can't attend practices. He's not allowed in team facilities. He can't criticize teams or referees. How can he do his job if he's not allowed to do that? For now, everything is fine with Tom Brady and the Raiders. But what if Las Vegas becomes a perennial playoff team?
You can catch Rick Ballou on Into the Night with Rick Ballou on 1010XL Monday to Friday from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the evening. All right, tight ends coach Richard Angulo has his hands full. That's what happens when you have to replace a guy who caught 114 passes last season and is on the salary cap for $14 million. Evan Ingram is really good, and the Jaguars already missed number 17, who's done for the season after shoulder surgery. But he has Brenton Strange, who played very well last week and who has been playing well all season long. 11 catches and 12 targets. He's dependable. There's video out there of him drive blocking defensive end Hassan Reddick into the end zone last week here at EverBank Stadium. So we started our conversation talking about him and the other talented young tight end across the way, Brock Bowers, who's on the field today, and all Angulo could do was smile.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't know the stats that Brock Bowers had, which is impressive. And we knew the talent coming out of college for him, so it's kind of fun to see it happen so quickly, honestly. And for Strange, it's awesome. Awesome to see what he did last week. And it's just a testament to what he does in the practice field. So all the hard work pays off.
Tell me if you've seen it coming from him all season long, because I think he's given us signs that he's ready to take that next step. Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a matter of opportunity. He prepares like he's going to be the starter. He does a good job with it. He works hard. So, like I said, he's always in that mindset. He naturally feels that way. He doesn't feel like he's a guy who's behind, who's trying to work his way up, which happens to a lot of guys. So he has the right mindset, and he comes to work every day. So it's good.
After the game last week, he was asked about, keeping it going when the season isn't going your way. And his comment, I thought, was very telling. It was, this is what I do. I love football. I only get so many opportunities. I'll be there Monday ready to go. That approach is so genuine. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I talked to the guys about it today. It's a group that's all hungry to make plays. They work hard, and they just want to get out there and be able to make plays. So it truly is. They all have the right mindset, and you can see it on the field.
What do you miss with Evan Ingram on injured reserve?
Well, it sucks. It feels different when he's not around. For the guys in the locker room and out here on the field, and in the room, he's a good leader. He's definitely one to share knowledge and experiences and try to help coach, give guys tips and things like that. And obviously, all he does on the field with his athletic ability too. So we'll miss that for sure. So yeah, it definitely feels different for sure. But we just got to keep going.
Tell me about the other young guys in the room that you're counting on this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's a young guy, but Josiah, he's been around the block a little bit, but, he's a great guy. He doesn't say anything. He just kind of comes to work, does everything we ask him to do. Luke Farrell, obviously, he's been putting in the work in, and he's done a great job, too. And our practice squad guy, Sean, he's definitely gotten a lot better over the season. So, I think the group is progressing the right way.
You've been around this game a long time. You've seen seasons that go off the rails and don't go the direction that you were hoping. What is it about this team that every game it seems like it's a playoff game? They're still fighting all the way to the end.
Yeah, and that's what's awesome about it. There's there hasn't been any trying to talk guys into it or trying to talk guys off the ledge type of thing. They're still real hungry. They still come to compete every day, and it's just awesome to see. I'm glad I don't have to spend time doing that, honestly. So it's definitely been, obviously it's not something we wanted, for sure, but it is what it is. And, we're all men. We all signed up for this job, and it's part of it. Sometimes seasons don't go your way, but you just have to keep working.
The energy level obviously is higher after a win. What does one win do for a team, even if it doesn't count towards the playoff standings? You saw it a couple weeks ago against Tennessee. What can a win against the Raiders today do for you?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, imagine your busiest week of work, and then the following week you get nothing for it, and you got to do it all over again. So it just makes it that much better for the following week. And like I said, regardless of where you're at in the season, when you're in a game and you're winning and that last second ticks off and you win, it feels awesome. That's why you do it. I don't know. It's what we do, and you hate when you lose because you feel like you do all that work and there's just no gratification at the end of the week.
If the Jaguars win today, and I kind of expect that they will, there will be people who will be unhappy with that result. Not because they don't want their team to win, but because in a season where wins don't matter anymore, they don't want to give up the draft position. They want to make sure they have a better shot at a better player, and beating the Raiders today pushes them down the draft order. But these guys go to work every week, every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the idea of playing well and winning, and you can't ask them to not do that.
Oh, I don't think anybody does ask them to not do that. There's a difference between the way an organization can tank for a draft position is by sitting certain players, by saying, you know what, we're going to get a good look at this guy, and then you don't put those players on the field. Whoever you put on the field, you better expect is going to go as hard as he can to make plays. Now, we ran a poll this week on Jaguars Today, and it was 2/3, 1/3 that they'd rather have the higher pick than the wins down the stretch. That's among the people that voted. And the people that vote for I want wins say that's a loser mentality, but the response to that is, no, I don't want them just to win a game. I want them to win a championship and to be in a better position to have elite talent in the NFL draft. When you're sitting here, you might be able to be in position to get the best non-quarterback in the draft and maybe even trade down and get that. That's attractive, because the more shots you get, the more talent you're likely to stumble into, even if you're not selecting, with 100% accuracy.
The thing is, the Jaguars don't really have that many players they can sit. They could sit Ronald Darby today for Trey Prince, but it's not like you could sit Evan Ingram for Brenton Strange because he's already in the lineup and Ingram
I understand
is gone.
it. Right. The Jags don't have any. They're playing their backup quarterback. They've got several other backups playing. This is the way it is. I'd like to see Jordan Jefferson get a longer look. He's a draft pick.
I've been calling for that for weeks.
Right. So, and he and Mason Smith have barely been active at the same time at any point.
I think there was 2 games this year where they were.
I think you're right. So, but that's not that I want to see him because I don't think he's going to perform well. It's more I just want to get a look at what he's capable of doing because right now it's a complete mystery. So no, I think the Jags are where they're at, and they're going to play their guys and go out there. But there are definitely teams that have done this in the past. The Bucs did it the year Jameis Winston was that they felt the prize. They're in position to get the number 1 pick. They're winning at halftime of Week 18, and they benched all their starters, or as many as they could in the second half.
Are you willing to do some of that for a cornerback? Because you're not going to do it for a quarterback. Obviously, that year, the Buccaneers did it because the prize was a quarterback, and the Jaguars losing down the end, which everyone, me included, was cheering about when the Jets went out and beat the Rams in L.A. and set up Trevor Lawrence. Does it matter when it's not that premier position?
Well, I don't think that most organizations do it, period, right? I just think they play it out because the coaches are coaching for their coaching life, and the front office wants to, they're all susceptible to getting fired as well. But, I think the Jaguar fan response to that would be, well, if you have the number 1 pick, even if you don't want a quarterback, somebody else is going to pay you to get up there to make sure they get the quarterback of their choice. So it's not only about getting as high a pick as possible, it's what else you can get in addition to that. And I don't know if Travis Hunter is, worth, quote, tanking for, or Mason Graham or any of these other top prospects. But the higher you are in the draft order, you just got a better pool of players to select from, and the likelihood that even if you are grabbing one out of a hat,
right,
you've got better talent in that hat.
All right, we will follow that story through the rest of this season and obviously into January, February, and all the way up into April's draft. Well, at 2:30 Eastern Time, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick will be by. When we return, Jeff Loggeman and Tony Baselli join us from Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders and Jags are on deck in Week 16. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show here on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Champions are built from the support and encouragement they get from the team around them. No one knows that better than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.
As one of the nation's largest pediatric health systems, the Morris Children's Health gives hope to future champions every day to go well beyond their limits. Together, we can redefine children's health. We are the Morris Children's Health.
Hey Jags fans, Extreme isn't always about heat, it's about flavor. And 505 knows flavor, so wake up those sleepy taste buds with 505's new lineup of premium craft salsa. Powered by the bud-kicking boldness of fire-roasted Hatch Valley chilies, 505 sauces are more than enough to bulk up any simple spread. Ignite your sense of boldness with 505's all-new assortment of fiercely fiery flavors featuring 505's new black bean and corn craft salsa. And of course, 505's award-winning flagship flavor, Southwestern style.
UNF is a top public university committed to serving the region, a place where visionary minds come together to create effective solutions. With more than 70% of their graduates working in the area, UNF is North Florida's university, offering 100-plus majors, affordable tuition, and programs in high-demand fields. Soar into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
Ancient City Brewing is celebrating 30 years of Jags football by becoming the proud craft beer partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what better way to celebrate a throwback year than to throw back some of their expertly crafted beers? From Augustine's Orange Amber Ale to their Castillo Coconut Porter, there's always something new to discover at Ancient City Brewing, including the new First and Gold Golden Ale, coming soon to a Duval County store near you. Ancient City Brewing, taste history, make history, and please always drink responsibly.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios inside the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are in Vegas today. Kickoff comes your way for the Jags and Raiders at 4:25 Eastern Time. Time now for the first rounds on us.
New York Jets, first round choice. Jeff Loggeman.
Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Baselli.
First rounds on us is presented by Ancient City Brewing. Taste history, make history. And we've got Jeff and Tony with us from the broadcast booth at Allegiant Stadium. I've been saying all week the Jaguars have played every one, but they haven't played everywhere. Not till today do they make their debut on the Strip.
Yes, it's a beautiful stadium here. Allegiant Stadium, right across.
You've been here before, right?
Yeah, I've been here multiple times.
Yeah, I haven't been here. This
games.
is pretty amazing.
It's a great stadium. I mean, if you look down to the left, Jeff, you got the nightclub with the table service down there. That place gets a little wild. I don't know if it'll be today because of the records of the teams, but I've been here on a night game, and this place
it's lively.
Pretty lively.
I bet.
Pretty lively.
I bet. The neat thing about the stadium, and Dave DeCanis was kind of explaining it to us because they were here in the off-season for a tour, is that they have multiple surfaces that they can wheel in and out of this stadium. You know, from the grass, which is what they're going to be playing on today, to AstroTurf. I think they have a second grass field.
They have multiple grass fields.
And then they have also another surface that they can bring in for concerts or whatever kind of venue events that they have. So pretty cool little deal there.
Well, it's Vegas, so you're going to have a lot of events here.
I bet.
All right, guys, let's get to Finding Solutions, presented by the University of Florida, the #1 university in the U.S. News and World Report, #1 state for education. We expect to see Trey Prince today, young player in the secondary that has not performed well. You lose nothing, I think, by having him on the field today. What are your thoughts about shaking things up and getting more young players on the field here the final 3 games?
Well, I think you're doing it for the most part, and I agree, Brian, that, look, it's time to let DeAndre Prince play. I mean, the other option is to have Ronald Darby play, and look, the reality is that he's kind of been a target this year, and Monteric Brown has played better, so now it's time to look at the young player, DeAndre Prince. When you are what you are, which is out of the playoffs, mathematically eliminated, it's time to take a look at some of these young players, and I like him, by the way. I think he's got good speed, he's got great hips. So let him play.
Yeah, I don't think you play young players just to play them, but if they're going to help you win and give you a chance and develop, yeah, absolutely. And the bottom line is Ronald Darby has not had a good year. And I think it's been ever since Tyson Campbell got hurt and Monteric Brown came in, I thought he clearly earned the starting job.
I don't know what took so long to kind of realize that.
I guess that's my point. I think Monteric Brown's done a good job, has taken the opportunity and played well. And Darby, has been a target throughout the year. I struggled a little bit, so why not give Prince a chance to see what you got?
Well, guys, we know the secondary has been responsible for a lot of blown coverages this year. It's just been, the big plays and inopportune moments that have done them in really all season long. So is there any hope for that to get turned around in the final 3 weeks, or is that just who this team is at this point?
Well, it's who you are, right? I mean, we're too far in the season to say all of a sudden now they're going to change things. I mean, it is what it is. And last week continued along those lines. Antonio Johnson had a big mistake there when all of a sudden you have a whole side of the field where there was nobody at. He was chasing a crosser, and Devontae Adams catches it and then strolls down the 1 yard line. The seam down the middle, Darnell Savage just was not very good technique. It wasn't a mental breakdown, but it wasn't very good technique. It's just you can't have that. Garrett Wilson, another one, just bad technique. So, last week was a mental error, but also bad techniques. And, the fact of the matter is that's kind of been happening all year, and I don't know if I'd expect that to stop, right? We kind of expected it to stop after week 3 and week 4, and it didn't.
Mike, hope is always alive. It's always out there. We can hope. But you also have to look at the evidence, and history also will teach you quite a bit. So the bottom line is this team, if it wants to win this week or the next following 2 weeks and going into next year, has to stop beating itself. And that's with mental errors and not doing the technique as coach or as designed, because that not only impacts you as an individual, it impacts the guys that are counting on you to be in a certain place and to play a certain leverage and play a certain technique. And when you don't do that, it's bound to kill you. And this league is about starting from ground zero. And the rule is don't beat yourself. Don't help. It's hard to win in this league. It's impossible if you're having pre-snap penalties, mental errors, wrong technique. You just can't win games. And I think that's what we've seen this year for the most part.
I think when we looked at this Jaguar team in the offseason, a lot of people, fan base, media, questioned, did they do enough on the offensive line to improve that unit? So here we are with 3 games to go. How do you think they perform this year, and how much additional help do they need to add to this unit going forward?
Mike, I think they've been better than they have the last 2 years as a unit. Since I'm just thinking about the Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke tenure over the last, this will be year 3. And so they did improve. And I think a lot of that improvement was bringing in a veteran center, Mitch Morris, because Fortner was an issue. And so are they dominant? No, but I think they're not in the bottom quartile where they were last year at the end of the year. And they've done a good job. I think Walker Little coming in, he's played outstanding football the last 3 weeks. I am concerned that Anton Harrison has not improved over last year. That's a development issue. And then long term, I think you got to look ahead and say, how much football does Mitch Morris and Brandon Sheriff have left in them? They're going to be 11-year guys, beat up, a lot of wear and tear. And so I think for this year, I tip my hat especially to Brandon Sheriff, who I think has played better football than he did last year. I think he's been more physical. He's a tough guy. We knew that. He plays hurt. But I think the big question is, where do you go from here? Because this is an offensive line that does not have depth. The loss of Cooper Hodges, and we don't know really what the future has because that was a really scary, ugly knee injury. I don't see a lot of guys on this roster that you look at and say, okay, with development, that's a starter in this league, and that's a problem.
Yeah, just to echo what Tony said, the last 3 weeks, I think the offensive line has played really good football. I mean, really good football to where that's winning football. And the one guy that we haven't mentioned yet, I'm going to mention him because I think he's been solid all year, is Ezra Cleveland.
Yep.
You know, Ezra, I think, has been really a pillar with this offensive line along with Mitch Morse. I think those two guys, and then also just the improved play of Brandon Sheriff has really elevated this offensive line this year.
Out of necessity with Evan Ingram out, they went to Brenton Strange 12 times last week, did the Jaguars. He caught 11 of those passes. Jeff, I talk to you every week. I know you really rave about this guy as an all-around football player, but is Brenton Strange showing that regardless of whether Evan Ingram is back and part of your offense next year, that he needs to get more involved on a weekly basis?
Absolutely. And I say that because, you know what, you go back to the game, and I don't remember the exact opponent. Brian, you probably do because you're like Rain Man when it comes to that stuff, where the wide receivers got hurt. Evan had to play wide receiver. Brenton's playing tight end, and they finished the game out with those guys in that combination. And you're like, wow, look how good that looks, right? I mean, let's go ahead and just keep on rolling with that in the future, and they didn't. I think the next week Brenton Strange only got like 9 snaps. You're like, wait a minute. What happened to that combination that worked at the end of the game the week before? And I like Brenton Strange. There's nothing not to like about Brenton Strange. Tough, physical, dependable, loves ball. And if you can't find a way to get a guy like that on the field consistently, even with Evan Ingram, then shame on you.
Well, but, Jeff, I agree with you, but they're also different. They play a different position. And what I love about Brenton Strange, he's a true every down tight end, point tight end, that is a outstanding blocker and also a receiver. So he's more in the, of a George Kittle type of tight end. I'm not saying he's George Kittle, but that's kind of who he is, where you can put him on the field and it puts the defense in a bind because you have to respect him in the run game as a run blocker, but he's also effective enough in the pass game that makes matchups difficult. Where Evan Ingram is a true move tight end. No one is worried about Evan Ingram dominating you at the end of the line of scrimmage, the defensive end.
But he's a good blocker.
But he's a good, willing blocker and a great move tight end. And we said this, Jeff, when we talked about it, I said it on the air. I thought for a long time the best personnel package for this team was 12. Brenton Strange and Evan Ingram on the field at the same time. I think that puts a defense in the biggest bind and allows you to do a lot of interesting things with those two guys out. Now, with them on the field, with Evan Ingram out, we'll see what they do next year. You're going to have to think about salary cap and impact of that. Who knows what will happen? But regardless of what happens to Evan Ingram, Brenton Strange needs to be your starting point, tight end.
Let me just explain something real quick because you said 12 personnel. Explain to people what that means.
Yeah, 12 personnel is 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 back.
Okay.
And so getting Evan Ingram and Strange on the field at the same time, I think, creates the best matchups for you as an offense against any opposing defense.
All right, fellas. Hey, Jeff, I think you're talking about the Packers game earlier this year.
Thank you, Brian.
That was the game. So, hey, guys, have a great broadcast. And if we miss you tomorrow, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
See you guys. And that'll do it for the first hour. JP Shadrick is in with the next 2 hours leading up to kickoff between the Jaguars and Raiders. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog. Made in Florida, Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hey fans, it's Tyson Campbell, cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, your game day is getting even tastier with Al's Pizza in the stadium. And every time we get a pick, you'll score. If the Jaguars get one interception, you'll enjoy buy one, get one free pizza at any Al's Pizza location Monday through Thursday after the home game. 2 interceptions, a free dessert. And 3 interceptions, that's a free appetizer. Just tell them you want the Jags pick. Up your game and get your Al's Pizza at the game or any of their locations.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in Miami and Houston. Watch them win in Philly, Detroit, Nashville, and Las Vegas. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Football is back. Celebrate with a gay Duval meal deal. Score 2 Roller Grill favorites and a 20-ounce Coca-Cola soft drink for just $4.50. That means you can choose any 2 to pair with your Coke. 2 hot dogs, 2 tornadoes, 2 roller bites, or mix and match. Whether you're stopping for a quick snack or tailgating with friends, this is a victory for every Jags fan. Deal happening now through January 2nd, 2025. Stop by to purchase in store.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And welcome in. It is hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And we're closing in on the Jaguars and the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a 4:25 Eastern kickoff time at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. We're at the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. 2 teams way out of the race, of course, eliminated from playoff contention. 2 teams there in the top 6 currently in the NFL draft order for next season. That's where we are in week number 16.
Yeah, this is a very telling game for a draft position, obviously going head-to-head. But, yeah, it's 2 teams very disappointed with the season that they've had, JP, and, not necessarily playing the quarterback that they expected to. Certainly in the case of the Jaguars, with the Raiders, it was up in the air who would win that job, and Minshew played a lot of the year. Aiden O'Connell's looking like he's going to be back in today. Desmond Ridder has not been good. We saw that impact on Brock Bowers over the last couple of weeks with Desmond Ridder in there. His numbers were not what they typically have been. He is going to be a big issue for the Jaguars defense today.
Rookie pass catchers is the big storyline of this ball game today. Of course, Brock Bowers, the tight end for the Raiders, leads all rookies in receiving yards and receptions this year in the NFL. Brian Thomas Jr. not that far behind him in yardage. That's the star attraction today.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. has been the best rookie wide receiver, most productive one so far this year, despite being the 4th one selected in the NFL draft. We were talking about it this week that he probably would be a top 10 pick if you redrafted it right now, knowing what you know. And so kudos to the Jags for not only getting him, but moving down and acquiring extra draft capital. But he's been fantastic. But I feel like the only thing that's held Brian Thomas Jr. back this year has been the coaching staff at times, not committing to just giving him the kind of targets that are commensurate with a number 1 wide receiver talent. And that's what he is. Heard Doug Peterson say he could have been doing more all year. Well, nobody was stopping you. Get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr., who's had 26 targets the last couple weeks. That's the trend that needs to continue.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Here in Jacksonville, 58 degrees, a high of 59 today. Wind gusts up around 20 miles per hour, cooling it off a little bit more. They're in the Dome today in Las Vegas in the desert, where it'll be perfect conditions for the Jaguars and the Raiders. Here are some of today's top stories, starting with 3 games to go. A Vegas weekend, Christmas this upcoming week. Lots of noise outside the building around the Jaguars. But on the Doug Peterson show this week, the head coach explains how he tries to keep the team focused.
I've said this in the past, too. It's my responsibility to make sure that I don't let these guys slide and slip and look into next week with all the distractions around Christmas and family and all that. We still have a lot to play for. I'm not talking about the postseason, obviously, but just for ourselves, for our pride, to finish this season the right way. 3 games to go. A great opportunity for us on Sunday. And if we come out and play, as well at times offensively and defensively as we did last week, take care of the football, gives yourself an opportunity to win that game.
Okay, that's the challenge of a week like this. We've seen this in the past, even with better Jaguars teams. Go out west late in the year, holiday week, a lot happening, and then you get blown out. So Jags have been in a lot of these games lately. How do they avoid that slide today is a question.
They're playing the Raiders, who probably can't blow you out, honestly. I mean, I don't think they're capable of blowing anyone out right now unless they get an incredible sequence of breaks. But, look, the Jags have shown you over the last couple weeks that they are fighting. Right? They're trying to win football games. They're staying in it. But they've also had times this year, think back to the home opener against Cleveland, where they're flat as can be. Think back to the entire game against the Detroit Lions. These are games in which they hadn't been eliminated from anything, and they just didn't seem to show up mentally in those situations. So I think it's not, you've got all these things swirling around. I think the opponent today is one that you're going to be in this football game regardless, but I don't think they've quit, but they have had a couple of inexplicable performances this year. So if it happens, I don't think it's necessarily like we're here at the end of the season. It's just that this is part of the DNA of this football team this year.
Mac Jones, the starting quarterback for the stretch run for the Jags. His approach with 3 games remaining.
Really just be where my feet are. That's in the games, that's in practice, that's anything in between. So I think that's one of my best, just going out there having fun, slinging it around, and I'm going to continue to do that. But really just get back to that one play at a time mindset. I think sometimes you put so much weight on a certain play in a game, and really they're just plays. So you can't look at it, whether it's the first drive of the game or the last drive. You just got to go out there and play and do your job. And if you do your job on the play, then that's really all you can ask for yourself.
Couple touchdowns last week, couple picks as well. Mac Jones still has certainly personally a lot to play for down the stretch run here.
Absolutely. I don't know if he's going to find an opportunity to compete for a starting job next year. He's going to have to play better than he has up to this point to be that guy that people kind of single out and say, hey, let's bring him in. Maybe he can be a bridge quarterback. But regardless of what it is, he's going to find himself in a better situation and with more teams interested in him if he plays well for the next 3 weeks.
It would help Mac Jones if the Jaguars have a consistent running game, and running back Travis Etienne Jr. understands that this season has been a struggle, that's to say the least, but he's still trying to take some lessons away from it.
I mean, it's very challenging, but at the end of the day, we all honestly know this season is not the way we want it to go, but we still don't lose those dreams of being a Super Bowl team. And we know in order to get there, we're going to have to win games like this in the future. So I feel like the best experience is teacher, and I feel like we keep getting enough of these. Finally, we're going to flip that switch, and then we'll figure out. And then we'll be the team winning a bunch of one-score games. So I feel like we just keep learning lessons this year, but I feel like we're going to figure it out. And I feel like this learned experiences are going to help us in that area.
And Travis Etienne's been kind of a strange year, right? First week of the season, fumbles inside the 5-yard line for the touchback, and that kind of told the tale early in that season. In this season, had some injury issues later. Tank Bigsby's been getting some play. Etienne trying to finish this one strong. He is back, of course, for year 5. The 5th-year option has been exercised by the Jaguars earlier, so he's here for another year at least, and trying to just carry this thing forward.
Well, I'd like to see the breakaway ability return, right? That's the thing. Brian and I talked about this last hour. Since week 3, he hasn't had a run of 20 yards or more. And that is his game. I mean, that's how he got to that 5.1 yards per carry average in 2022, because he has that breakaway ability. At least he's shown it in the past. I don't know if it's a cumulative effect of injuries, circumstance, sharing with Tank Bigsby, which might keep him a little bit fresher, but there just hasn't been that burst from Etienne that we had been accustomed to seeing.
Let's go to defense now. The Jags out of the race, 3-11, 3 games to go. Josh Hines-Allen, the defensive end this week, discussing the challenge of staying focused down the stretch.
We got to come in here with a purpose, individually. Obviously as a team, it's a little difficult because, we're playing for ourselves or playing for the pride of we have each other. But, individually, you got to check those boxes when you come in here, because if you don't, then it can just slip on by. And if we happen to slip on by, then we won't be in the positions that we are on Sundays, because eventually we still have to play on Sunday.
Josh Hines-Allen with 7 sacks this year. Trayvon Walker on the other side leads the Jags, 8.5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. So that combo's been okay. The rest of the defensive line's had some issues. The rest of the defense, obviously, some issues. But those are the 2 guys that are the stalwarts. They're going to be there for a long time to come on the edge.
Yeah, they are. Would have liked to have seen Josh Hines-Allen follow up his 17.5 sack season with a more productive one, but he still has a chance to get into double figures, JP. And I understand, when you're trailing in a lot of games, that you don't get those pin your ear back pass rush opportunities, but they're trailing in a lot of games in part because the pass rush isn't getting home, and it's making this defense cover on the back end longer than they're capable of doing in a lot of cases. So, look, they're both very good players, and hopefully their best years are still to come. But I think the overall combination of the sacks between them has to be seen as a disappointment based on what they did last year.
52 career sacks for Josh Hines-Allen, 3 to tie the franchise career record, 3.5 to get it on his own. Cornerback Tyson Campbell discussing this week what he can squeeze out of the stretch run now with 3 games to go and what has been a disappointing campaign.
Just finish strong, man. We got 3 games left, making sure we take it one game at a time and just try to go 3-0, but go 1-0 each week. So, yeah, man, just play for my brothers, man. This is a blessing, and I just want to steward the best way I can, so I'm not taking nothing for granted,
Speaking of injury issues, we talked about it with Etienne some, but Campbell's been dealing with hamstring stuff off and on throughout really his career, but certainly earlier in the season, but out there now for the remainder of the way trying to finish things strong. Jags fans can't make the game. We get it. You could easily donate your Jags tickets to VetTix military veterans in the community through the Jaguars ticketing account page. Select more on the ticket page and select the game you'd like to donate. VetTix, tickets for troops. Let's head to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, just off the Strip. Kainani Stevens is standing by in the broadcast booth. And good morning to you out west. Kai, what's up in Vegas today?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm obsessed with this stadium. It is excellent, and there are a lot of Jaguars fans. I saw them outside, so if you made the trip, it was well worth it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's first Jaguars trip to the new place in Las Vegas, and unfortunately, it's a game that doesn't matter much in the standings. It certainly matters in the draft order for next year. You go out there and still try to play the football game and play it to win. And we asked a lot of questions this week. We just heard from Doug Peterson, some of the players, how do they focus, all this stuff going on, holiday weekend. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge on a week like this in a place like Vegas, West Coast, to maintain your composure and focus and just go play well.
Sure, it's a long trip. They do it the right way, leaving. They stay off the strips, away from some of the distractions for the team. And we've seen from the Jaguars, obviously the season has not gone the way we wanted, but we've seen effort every week, which you can't say about every other team that would be in this same position. I hope that continues today. And I know some of the fans, they're talking about draft order already, but winning at this point is beneficial to this team as well, especially if you can develop those younger players that we've talked about. But the Raiders are in a very similar position. Obviously, their head coach, Antonio Pierce, was interim and now has been here for this year, but they're not overly happy with him, the vibe from the media here and what he's been able to do, but he's very much trying to win games, and they're talking about draft order getting a quarterback as well. But interesting, there are some familiar faces on the defense side here in the Raiders, and one of them is former Jaguars first-round pick Caleb Chason, who's had a bit of a resurgence since he got here in Las Vegas.
Here's Antonio Pierce earlier this week on the former Jaguars first-round draft pick.
And also, putting your arm around them, loving them, and also the culture and the way our locker room is and the way that D-line group, that's a very tight-knit group. even with Max and Christian out, those guys are always in there and doing things together constantly. So, like I said, he's kind of just fit in. Like, I think initially he's trying to find his way. And then once he found his way, I mean, we're reaping the benefits of his play right now. But he is happy. He's kind of finding himself. He's like, AP, I like it here. I want to be a Raider. And that's kind of good. That's things that you want to have happen when you bring guys in who it didn't work out. Because a lot of first-round, when it doesn't work out for them, they kind of just go to the wayside and feel sorry for themselves. He's taking advantage of every opportunity.
Yeah, Catalon Chazon has been in the sack column, 2 of the last 3 games, Kai, and as he said, as Pierce just said there, it didn't really work out here. There's been a long run, a history of Jaguars first-round picks not working out for one reason or another. Chazon is on that list, but maybe he can find some new life in Sin City.
He's talking a lot about just being in that room. Obviously, some impressive pass rush, defensive line. Max Crosby out for the season, but just some influence there and kind of being around that. And I don't think there's any ill will necessarily, but probably just feeling like he now has an opportunity to contribute a little bit. So hopefully that works out for him, but just interesting to see on the other side with him going over there. Yeah, no doubt about that. And Kai, have a great day today in Las Vegas. Stay out of trouble, will you? I'll do my best. No promises. Kai Stevens joining us at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas ahead of the Jaguars-Raiders matchup. And we're about 15 minutes away from the inactives coming down. We'll get those to you when they come out for both teams. Up next at CBS Sports play-by-play announcer Andrew Catalon. He has the call of the game today at 4:25 for the Jaguars and the Raiders. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Sims Crane and Equipment is the Southeast premier crane rental company since 1959, serving Florida, Georgia, and Alabama with cranes up to 800 ton for all of your heavy lifting needs. Sims Crane is the Tadano rough terrain crane dealer for the state of Florida. Inspired by the past, committed to the future. Choose Sims Crane and Equipment for all of your heavy lifting needs. Sims Crane is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's the Get Holiday Ready sales event with Hank and Sam from the Ford crew. Today, a new shipment of inventory.
Hank, what's going on?
Another hauler full of new Ford trucks and SUVs, Sam.
So much SUV capability. Is that?
Ford F-Series, the best-selling trucks for 47 years. And a big selection means...
Big savings?
Yep, which means...
It's the best time to buy?
Well done, Sam. And time for America to get holiday ready with Ford.
Based on 1977 to 2023 CY Industry reported total sales.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate show continues inside 2 hours until Week 16 for the Jaguars at 3-11 and the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-12. It's a 4:25 Eastern kickoff time at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's go around the National Football League, Mike.
All right, taking a look back quickly at yesterday, Tank Dell of the Houston Texans done for the year. Who knows how long he's going to be out. Remember, he was shot in the offseason down in Sanford, Florida, in just a kind of a wrong place, wrong time thing. So he overcame that, was having a great day yesterday. In fact, caught a 30-yard touchdown. And on the play, his teammate hit him from the side in the knee, obvious pain. Give him credit. He hung on to the football and scored there for the Texans, who'd go on to lose 27-19 to the Chiefs. But they're saying a significant left knee injury that includes a dislocated kneecap, and that's going to be a long recovery there. Wide receiver Marquise Brown made his season debut for the Chiefs, catching 5 of 8 targets for 65 yards. Of course, Brown injured his shoulder in a preseason game versus the Jaguars, and this was his first game action in Kansas City. Baltimore knocked off Pittsburgh 34-17 yesterday. Got 189 total yards from Derrick Henry and 3 touchdown passes from Lamar Jackson. In the process, the Ravens clinched a spot in the AFC playoffs. And Deontay Johnson, who, of course, had played for the Steelers, then was shunted off to Carolina. They waived him. Baltimore picked him up. Baltimore now has dropped him this week, so you got to wonder what's going on with him behind the scenes. But he is expected, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, to be claimed on waivers tomorrow when he's eligible, with the Chargers and Chiefs listed as potential landing spots, according to Schefter. Now you have to wonder if the Texans don't get into that group as well after they lost Stephon Diggs earlier in the year, now losing Tank Dell. Going around the league right now, we've got 7 games in progress, and we'll start with the Jets and Rams. Not a whole lot going on offensively there. New York leading it 9-6 with L.A. with the ball and driving in the third quarter. In Washington today, Philadelphia lost Jalen Hurts to a concussion, and he has been ruled out for the rest of the game. Kenny Pickett has come in, thrown a touchdown to A.J. Brown. They've gotten a couple of rushing scores from Saquon Barkley, and right now Philadelphia leads it 21-14, and Philly's still in play for the number 1 seed and a bye in the NFC playoffs. The Giants got up 7-0 on Atlanta, and that's been it for the Giants in terms of good news, as Drew Lock has turned it over multiple times, a couple of pick sixes for the Falcons defense in support of Michael Penix, who's making his first start of his NFL career. He's got 110 yards, 9 of 6 passing with an interception, no touchdowns, but the Falcons lead at 24-7. It's been the James Conner show so far for Arizona, although they trail Carolina now 20-17. Conner with 111 rushing yards, 47 receiving yards, and a touchdown on the day. But the Panthers have struck with an Adam Thielen touchdown. Bryce Young ran for a score, and Chuba Hubbard has one as well. And Carolina up 23-17 after just kicking a field goal seconds ago. Cincinnati up 17-6 as Jerome Ford just got into the end zone. The first points of the day for the Cleveland Browns, who are playing Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback. Jameis Winston is the emergency third quarterback. The Titans, well, they seem to have wrapped up their season in terms of competitiveness, at least. Indianapolis up 31-7 on Tennessee right now in a battle of AFC South teams not headed to the playoffs. Jonathan Taylor has a 65-yard rushing TD and a 70-yard rushing TD against the Tennessee defense. And Detroit trying to maintain their spot at the top of the NFC standings, up 27-14 on the Chicago Bears. Keep in mind, they've been beset, the Lions have, by injuries, including the latest one, David Montgomery, expected to be out for the regular season, hopeful to return in the playoffs if he can get healthy enough. But Jahmyr Gibbs picking up the slack in his absence.
Having a look around the National Football League, Andrew Catalon has the call of today's game on CBS Sports. It's not the matchup the Jaguars are hoping for down the stretch, but it's the one we get, the 3-11 Jags and the 2-12 Raiders.
It's a big one, JP. Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Just saw the Jags a couple of weeks ago. I thought that was a much-needed win in Tennessee, so got a pretty good feel for what they're about to bring to the table. And I haven't had the Raiders since week 2, which was one of their 2 wins of the year, when amazingly they won in Baltimore. You think about that result, here we are in late December. So we'll see what happens this Sunday.
I mean, I guess the number one storyline in this game are the rookie pass catchers for each team. Brock Bowers, of course, is the leading rookie in receiving yards in the NFL, the tight end for the Raiders, and then Brian Thomas Jr. has broken all the Jaguars rookie records, and he's right there second in the NFL. Young, bright pass catchers, that's something to watch for this game, and especially against this Jaguars defense that's having some issues down the field. What have you seen looking back at the Raiders this year in Brock Bowers and how that's translated from college now to the NFL?
Yeah, I think he's a star, JP. He is really impressive, the numbers that he's getting. And obviously they traded Devontae Adams midway through the year, and that really opened up him as their number one passing option. And he's taken advantage of that. I mean, he has a chance to break Mike Ditka's record. He's closing in on that mark, which would be just incredible for a rookie tight end. And, we met with Brian Thomas Jr. a couple of weeks ago in Nashville. It was the first time that our crew had sat with him. Really impressed by him. I mean, he's got a great way about him, very serious, very focused, but also has a lighter side to him, too. So our crew really enjoyed spending time with him. I really think that these two names are going to be names we hear for a long time to come in the NFL. I think both of these young pass catchers are here to stay.
How do you cover Bowers, though? I mean, I could ask that most weeks on most tight ends that face the Jaguars, but they've had issues down the field. He's got that balance of power and speed with the football.
Yeah, some preliminary talks with Jason McCourty, who's one of the people I'm calling the game with, and he thinks that Darnell Savage is going to be a big part of this game for the Jacksonville defense. We haven't met with them yet, but we will soon find out. But no, this is a game where, look, if you put all your attention on Bowers, it's not like Jacoby Myers can't go off either. So, yes, Bowers deserves that attention. Jacksonville needs to slow him down, but Myers is also having a nice season. I think the bigger question is can the Jaguars put pressure on the quarterback? We assume it'll be O'Connell. Don't give him time to find Bowers or Myers. Get after this guy a little bit. He doesn't move very well. So I think that that's an opportunity for Jacksonville to maybe get after him quickly.
Andrew Catalon with us. Can we get a Carter Bradley sighting? That'd come full circle if
That'd
Gus's kid played against the Jags.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't root for players, but I root for stories. That would be a great story to get in there. And you got Caleb Chason, who's done some nice things after he wasn't able to really get it going in his 4 years in Jacksonville. Mike Caldwell is the Raiders linebackers coach. So there's a couple of overlapping players, themes, storylines, but I don't think anything would top if Bradley got in there.
Andrew, which head coach needs this game more and the games down the stretch? Or at this point, we just don't know what's going to happen after this season here on this side of things. You never know in Las Vegas the way they're losing games. Which coach is kind of more on the hot seat, Pierce or Peterson?
Well, you look at the comments that Mark Davis made a couple of weeks ago about Antonio Pierce, and Tom Telesco, the general manager, is in his first year as the GM, and someone asked Davis, are these guys going to be judged together? Telesco and Pierce are separate, and he said no, separate. Telesco is not going to be judged. I mean, that's not what you want to hear if you're Antonio Pierce. But, to me, there's not a ton of great candidates out there this offseason. I think very highly of Mike Vrabel. I think that he's a guy that will get a job. I think he can probably get whatever job he wants, in my opinion. Beyond that, it's going to be a coordinator, or maybe not an experienced coach, maybe a first-year head coach, which is fine if that's the route you want to go. But I think that might help some of these coaches, Giants, Jaguars, Raiders, that it's not a slam dunk that you've got X, Y, and Z sitting out there.
All right, Andrew, let's wrap it up with the playoff chase here in the AFC. Starting to kind of settle in. We'll see what happens this weekend. The Chiefs are on Saturday. They could go ahead and clinch the number one seed, but, I mean, the Bills are playing the Patriots, so it's probably not going to be clinched. You never know. That's why they play the games. Who do you like in the AFC down the stretch here to finish it out?
JP, our crew had Baltimore last week, and obviously the opponent was the Giants, but just the sense we got around being the Ravens, specifically Lamar Jackson, this is a very determined team. feels to me like they're about to go on a deep run, a mission. Lamar had this different kind of way about him than our previous meetings with him. So I think this is a team that's very capable of beating the Steelers, winning the division, and going on a deep run. But as you said, the AFC is loaded. I mean, whoever gets hot is going to win. And, I'm one of the people that hasn't been talking up the Chiefs like a lot of others, but they're 13-1 or 13-1. So, it's hard to call them out either. But Bills and Ravens. But right now, I'm pretty excited to see what Baltimore can do.
One of these days, the Jaguars will be back on the In the Hunt graphic, and that's a good step in the right direction. Today's not one of those days. Andrew, always good to see you. Thanks for the time, man.
You too, pal. Happy holidays.
That's Andrew Catalon of CBS Sports, and, of course, he called it Ravens over the Steelers, and the Chiefs got a win in yesterday's action. The full conversation with Andrew Catalon on the official Jaguars Podcast Network and Jaguars YouTube. Up next, a pregame huddle up. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser standing by. The inactives are in. We'll get those to you as well ahead of the 4:25 kickoff time for the Jaguars and the Raiders. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes. I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A beautiful campus with an inspiring environment for learning, UNF is a key partner to Florida's booming industries, providing students with direct access to internships and jobs. Set a new course at UNF and soar into your future. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Hey Jags fans, Extreme isn't always about heat, it's about flavor. And 505 knows flavor, so wake up those sleepy taste buds with 505's new lineup of premium craft salsa. Powered by the bud-kicking boldness of fire-roasted Hatch Valley chilies, 505 sauces are more than enough to bulk up any simple spread. Ignite your sense of boldness with 505's all-new assortment of fiercely fiery flavors featuring 505's new black bean and corn craft salsa. And of course, 505's award-winning flagship flavor, Southwestern style.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars and the Raiders meet. It's Week 16 at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the site for the 4:25 Eastern Time kickoff. The inactives are in. The Jaguars have 4 players down today. Ronald Darby, the cornerback who dressed last week but did not play one snap in the game. He is officially inactive this week. The veteran corner is out. Javon Foster, rookie offensive lineman, again inactive. Sezi Otomewo, the defensive tackle, inactive. And rookie defensive tackle Jordan Jefferson, inactive today for the Jaguars. Mike?
All right, for the Raiders, JP, we've got cornerback Sam Webb down, cornerback Nate Hobbs as well. Kanai Mauga, a backup linebacker, guard Jordan Meredith, and defensive tackle Matthew Butler all out. Carter Bradley is not up. He'll be the emergency third quarterback. He is, of course, the son of former Jaguars coach Gus Bradley.
He certainly is. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser are standing by at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Good morning, gentlemen, out west in the afternoon here, of course. It's the time of year, Bucky, where the holidays are here. You know, Christmas is coming up Wednesday. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes.
Families are coming to town. Jags are out of the race. It's a West Coast road trip in a place that is known for distractions. It's a city built on distractions. How do you, as head coach Doug Peterson, keep this team locked in with this type of trip this week?
I think it's very similar to last week. Once you've been eliminated from the playoffs, it's about appealing to their pride and their professionalism. Can you get guys to play? And some of that is going to happen by putting young guys in who are given an opportunity that they may have not have had earlier in the year. They're going to play hard because they want to show and prove to people that they can play at this level, and they want to set themselves up for next year. I don't think it'd be an issue getting the team to play hard. I think it's just a matter of making sure you appeal to their professionalism, and then you challenge the young guys to take advantage of their opportunities.
Yeah, speaking of distractions, JP, Bucky was looking at his phone as you asked him the question.
And so was I.
And so multitask. Well, he multitasks a lot these days, Bucky does. I think the DeAndre Prince being up, JP, he's been up, but Darby being down is exactly what you and Bucky were sort of talking about. Get young guys in who have a lot to prove or are playing for their career. Darby being down makes sense. He's a one-year guy. And he's not going to be here next year, you wouldn't think. So you bring a guy like Trey Prince in and let him play. I was a little surprised Jordan Jefferson wasn't up.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much Javon Foster, but some of the rookies would have thought maybe Jordan would have been up. But I think that's really the key and how you stay focused. Make sure your youth is playing because they have a lot to play for.
Of course, one of the pieces of the Jags youth core is Brian Thomas Jr. He's been outstanding this year, but so has the rookie tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders, Brock Bowers. How well-versed are the Jags to deal with him, or what would be the approach, Bucky, to try to contain Bowers at least today?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. This is a hard matchup, and everyone has found how hard it is. This dude leads all tight ends and catches, yards, touchdowns, all of it. And so you have to make sure that you know where he is every time they break the huddle. He'll line up outside. He'll line up inside. They'll move him out the backfield. He is where the ball is going, and the more active he is on their offense, the better it is. And so Darnell Savage and Andre Sisco have to pay attention to where he lines up. The linebackers have to make sure that if they're close enough to him, they can disrupt his routes. But you can't allow him to have free access into their route.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to the Jaguars' approach the last couple of weeks with BTJ. I mean, I think defenses – in this day and age, if a team wants to get a receiver like that the ball in situations, maybe not downfield, but he's going to have some catch numbers, I think the approach with Bowers is the same thing that other teams should do with BTJ. Okay, you got catches. They're not going to be explosive catches. They're not going to be 55, 60-yard touchdowns. And we're going to assume that if that player can get you a couple of touchdown drives, that you don't have enough other guys to turn those 2 touchdown drives into 3 or 4 touchdowns for the game. So I think you just contain them a little bit. But the Jaguars, JP, as we talked about this week, they've never had a big problem with tight ends. This shouldn't be an issue.
John Oehser and Bucky Brooks joining us in Las Vegas. The comedy act on the Strip coming up later today with John Oehser.
I'll be staying out here for that.
Yeah, so. Why not? Speaking of Brian Thomas Jr., Bucky, from a play caller's perspective, and all these fans say, hey, feed him the ball, force it to him. John, you just kind of spoke to that a little bit. There are ways to get it to him, shorter yardage, hand it to him, whatever. But is it really as easy as just feeding him? I mean, they are playing defense over there too, Bucky. What's the balance of that on offense?
I don't think it really needs to be a balance. The best teams get the ball to their best players, and they let their best players impact the game. We have seen that the offense is drastically different when he touches the ball compared to when he doesn't touch it. And so it has to be top of mind to make sure that he's actively involved in the game plan. He gets enough touches to make positive plays for the team, and you have to have some things drawn up that take the reading out of it. Mac Jones, we're going to throw it to number 7 here no matter where he is. That has worked for the Jags. When you look at the last 2 weeks when they've pushed the ball to him, this offense has moved up and down the field. I think it has to continue to be a big part of the plan until someone shows that they can stop it.
And, Bucky, let me ask you, is with Mac Jones's arm strength, if you're going to say we need you to force the ball 25 yards downfield to BTJ, are you sort of assuming that there's going to be some interception risk somewhere in there, and you just sort of take that risk and saying, hey, we need to get this guy the ball. It's important enough.
Yeah, I think what they've done is, like the last couple of weeks when Mac Jones has been at his best, it's been a lot of quick rhythm throws, a lot of screens, a lot of isolation routes where it's one-on-one and you go there. The deep ball has not really been a big part of his repertoire, and even though it's great for Brian Thomas Jr. to be able to do that, it's really hard to get the vertical part of the game there. I think Mac has to play within the confines of the offense and allow it to kind of work for him.
All right, so you don't have to throw it very far down the field to get it to Brenton Strange, and he was the second leading receiver last week at 12 targets. Does he continue to get that? Was that a matchup issue, or are the Jags just at the point where they've got to get a lot of targets in the hands of Brenton Strange because they don't have many other options right now?
I think they got 2 frontline guys, Buck. I think they have Strange and they have Brian Thomas Jr. and everybody else. Once you get outside that, then you're talking about guys who aren't as elite in terms of talent, right?
No, I mean I'm with you on that, and I think they have found that that's the recipe and the formula that works. And it's crazy that it's taken so long to find that, hey, if you get the ball to your best players, good things happen for your offense. But that is really what's happening. Brenton Strange has shown not only is he a guy that can be dangerous in between the hashes, but he's done a really good job blocking in space and those things. And it's one of the things that you're excited about in terms of looking to the future, seeing his role expand and how good he can be for this team.
All right, guys, John, you were there a couple of years ago. You and I were at the Combine covering it together, and we look over on Radio Row after Bucky had done his Jaguars hit with Jaguars.com. That's what we thought was going on. And then we look over across the way, and John, he had changed shirts into a Raiders shirt and was doing Raiders stuff at the Combine. Yeah. So is he wearing one of those 50-50 Kelsey Mother shirts today? Like, what's he wearing?
I'm new to this because I assumed, JP, for that, I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, I always assumed that was Bucky's twin brother. That was Bucky.
Yeah, no, that was.
I always thought that was like Benny Brooks.
Yeah, that was me. I mean,
no, there's no double, but it conspicuous in
all black
in the Raider colors. I mean,
just all black. I mean, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong in all black.
But JP, in his defense, the Jaguars do have a black and white look now on their uniforms.
True.
So. I'm confused. I can't decipher it. I mean, it's going to take me a minute.
Well, this is the Bucky Brooks Bowl today. You played for both teams, Bucky.
Well, I wouldn't call it the Bucky Brooks Bowl because I saw Maurice Jones-Drew jersey coming in here. I think he is probably more likely to have this be his bowl game. Having played for 5 teams, I can't say that this would be my bowl game.
It's the MJD Bowl. That's what Bucky's sticking with. I don't know if it's a great argument, but, JP, it's his argument.
It's an argument, I suppose. Have a great day, guys. Appreciate it. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser joining us from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. We're closing in on Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff begins at 3:30 Eastern. Up next, though, a fantasy forecast and Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. The Jags and the Raiders coming up. 4:25 kickoff time. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
The power of a great team starts with the right equipment, specialized skills, and the training to win. That's why ASAP Dental Care and the Jaguars have the home team advantage. At ASAP Dental Care, we follow our playbook to perfection to exceed your expectations. Count on us to be there for you 7 days a week to deliver full-service dental care. Score a winning smile with ASAP Dental Care today.
Jaguars fans, huddle up. Do you own a vehicle made in the last 10 years? If your car is outside of factory warranty or with no warranty coverage, get the best defense against expensive auto repairs with CarShield, the official auto protection partner of the Jaguars. With plans to fit every budget, CarShield helps you cover up to 5,000 parts and systems. Call 800-471-1223 now or go to carshield.com/Jaguars. That's 800-471-1223. Coverage varies by plans. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading healthcare and technology organizations nationwide to deliver workforce solutions. CSI prides itself on building meaningful relationships and provides personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Big #1 Duval Ford is trusted by Duval families, Duval businesses, and law enforcement across Florida. We are Jacksonville's largest Ford dealer by Ford sales, with the biggest service facility to keep everything in your driveway on the road. Shop Big #1 Duval Ford on Cassett Avenue for our low prices and nationally recognized service first experience. Big #1 Duval Ford, proudly serving Duval since 1916.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. The Jacksonville Jaguars 3-11, the Las Vegas Raiders 2-12. Kickoff time 4:25 Eastern, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. The site, fantasy playoff time. How about a fantasy forecast, Mike?
All right, looking in the 4 o'clock window, including the Jags games, at some of the key inactives today. Curtis Samuel was questionable to go for the Bills. He has been ruled out of this game today. San Francisco at Miami. Isaac Arendo had already been ruled out for the 49ers. So that, you talk about all the running backs that they've gone through this year. It started with Elijah Mitchell, and then Christian McCaffrey goes down, and on and on. So they're on their 5th running back, Patrick Taylor, this year. So he's going to get a lot of volume today, you would expect. I think he's kind of a low-end running back 2, maybe a more of a flex play. Tyreek Hill was questionable to play for the Dolphins. He is up and rolling, although Miami will be without wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Should be a pretty big target game for Jonnu Smith based on the circumstances. Sunday Night Football tonight, Cade Otton, the Buccaneers tight end, is doubtful to go in that one. And for Monday Night Football, good luck, Saints. They are without their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, running back Alvin Kamara, wide receiver Chris Olave, another wide receiver, Bub Means. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is questionable to go for the Saints in that game. They'll likely start Spencer Rattler, who has been in and out of the lineup even as a backup. Gave the start to Jake Haener last week. Haener was that ineffective that they went back to Rattler, and he performed fairly well off the bench. Luke Musgrave, the Green Bay tight end, is questionable to go in that one. Some of the performances of note in the early going here, Kyren Williams has 108 yards and a touchdown on the ground for the Rams. They lead at 16-9 over the New York Jets. Devontae Adams following up on his performance against the Jaguars with 5 catches for 52 yards and a score there. Jalen Hurts gets injured in the first quarter. Notice I didn't say Hurts got hurt. I didn't go for that, but he got injured in the first quarter. Concussion, not coming back today, so this is going to upset a lot of fantasy managers who are rolling with him against Washington. Kenny Pickett off the bench, 109 yards and a touchdown to A.J. Brown, who's caught 6 for 74 with that score. Saquon Barkley's run for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. Jaden Daniels has a pair of scoring tosses as well. Not much going on offensively in the Falcons-Giants game outside of Bijan Robinson, who's run for 92 yards and 2 scores. The Falcons have scored twice on defense, so if you pick them up to target Drew Lock, good job by you. Falcons lead that 31-7. James Conner having a big day with 117 yards on the ground, 49 on 4 receptions. He has scored for Arizona, but they trail the Carolina Panthers right now at the end of the third quarter, 23-20 in that one. Adam Thielen, 4 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown, and Bryce Young is running a score. We had Jerome Ford break the scoreless drought for Cleveland not too long ago with a 4-yard rushing score. They trail Cincinnati, however, 17-6. T. Higgins and Andre Ayoshavas each with receiving touchdowns from Joe Burrow, who's on a streak of throwing 3 touchdowns. I think 6 straight games, 5 or 6 straight games with 3 or more touchdowns for Burrow. We'll see if he's able to get there. Anthony Richardson has run for a score and thrown for one for the Colts, but it's Jonathan Taylor with a 65-yard rushing touchdown, a 70-yard rushing touchdown, and then a 1-yard rushing score. He's at 203 yards on 21 carries with 3 TDs. Some people probably sat him this week because he hasn't been super productive, but he's coming through in a big way here. Chika Okonkwo giving you a nice tight end game with 8 for 69. And then finally, the Lions behind Jahmyr Gibbs, 101 on the ground and a score, are up 34-17. Jared Goff is at 328 with 3 touchdowns. And Jameson Williams providing the big spark with an 82-yard catch and run for a score there. Caleb Williams, 246 with a pair of scoring tosses for the Bears.
There you have it. The fantasy forecast, week 16 from Mike Dempsey, and we're about 10 minutes away from countdown to kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network, presented by the University of Florida, the #1 university in the U.S. News and World Report's #1 state for education. Let's head back to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Frank Frangie standing by in the broadcast booth for a game that is not what we were hoping for. 3-11 Jaguars, 2-12 Raiders. A lot on the line in terms of draft order, but still a lot of football to be played this year. 3 weeks left, Frank. Good morning.
Yeah, hello to you and Mike, JP. And you're exactly right. A chance for some young players to play. That's part of it. And I got to tell you, it's my first time at Allegiant Stadium. Boy, it is beautiful, man. They got this one right here on the Vegas Strip. It is gorgeous. Indoor facility, yet they have real grass here because kind of like in Phoenix, they move it in and out on like a tray, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. But you're right, it's a game for a lot of young players to play, 3 games to play, and I think we'll kind of see some of the young Jaguars like Trey Prince and others that maybe we haven't seen very much, JP.
Now, and we'll see what the motivation level is like, Frank, for both of these teams today. I think the Jaguars played, tough football, at least spirited football the last couple of weeks, but they've also had their games this year where they just have not shown up, and it has nothing to do with where they've been in the playoff standings. I think back to even the home opener where they came out flat. So what kind of energy level do you expect in the stadium today?
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. Hopefully the Jags have found a little something. I agree with you. They've had good energy the last couple of weeks. I expect that they will again. The Raiders are a little bit of a mess. They're in a different position. The Jags are disappointed the way the season went, but they've got their quarterback of the future. Mike, they've paid a lot of the young foundational players, whether it's Josh Hines Allen or Tyson Campbell or whoever. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like he's going to be a star. The Raiders, Mike, are starting to find themselves. Just being around folks yesterday since we've gotten here, they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They got to find that. Antonio Pierce is on the hot seat a little bit. So it's a Raiders team that's trying to find some energy, but quite frankly doesn't really know where they're headed. The Jags didn't do nearly as well this year as they had hoped, but in a lot of those areas, at least on the field, they know kind of where they're headed. But I think the Jags will have good energy. It's hard to get a feel for the Raiders, hard to get a feel for how many people will be in this beautiful stadium, Mike. We'll get a better idea when we get closer to kickoff.
Frank Frangie from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. One of the big questions coming out of the draft with Brock Bowers was, will it translate to the NFL? We all saw what he did at Georgia over the last few years, really. Well, I think it's translated, Frank. I mean, he's leading all rookies in receiving yardage and receptions this year. So from the Jaguars' defensive perspective, what do you do to slow him down today?
And it's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, JP. I watched Kyle Pitts all those years at Florida and thought he was just going to be a great pro, didn't you? Like he was this state-of-the-art tight end, the kind we haven't seen before, and he's kind of been just a guy. Now Brock Bowers comes along, with sort of the same pedigree, at least the same expectations, and he's been absolutely fantastic. I agree with you. One of the better rookies in the league. He's a really good player. Oh, I think the Jags have to pay a lot of attention to him, particularly down the field. Look, the Jags safety play has not been good at times, JP. If you wanted to point to 2 or 3 things that have really gone wrong here, it's safeties letting guys busted coverages, guys getting down the field. And Brock Bowers is a guy that can get down the field. I mean, he's a tight end, but he's got 90 catches, almost 1,000 yards. This guy's a really good player, and I can promise you it'll be more than one guy keeping an eye on him all day long for sure.
You know, Frank, we talked with Tony and Jeff about this a little bit earlier about the offensive line wondered if it would be a sore spot coming into the season. And I don't think it has been. You know, they haven't always been great in short yardage, but they protected the quarterback fairly well this year, and they get the benefit of not having to go against Max Crosby today. Do you think Mac Jones going to have some time to put something together in the backfield?
Mike, I do. I think the last 3 weeks they've played really well, and I think the protection, to your point, I agree with you, has been pretty good all year long. The other thing is Walker Little's played well. You know, I mean, he's the left tackle now. There's no more Cam Robinson, and he's a fill-in, and he's a swing tackle, and he plays when you need him. And he's elevated them, I think, a little bit. They're not going to miss, or they haven't missed Cam Robinson, and I wasn't sure that was going to be the case. So, yeah, I agree with you. They've played pretty well. I think Mac's had good pockets. Mac's got to trust the pocket. Mac has checked the ball down too soon a few times when they go back and watch tape. Mac's moved out of the pocket a little bit too soon. But if he trusts his pocket, to your point, particularly with no Max Crosby, I mean, old friend Catalon Chaison's their best pass rusher now. So, no, I would think Mac's going to have a lot of time and maybe can get the ball down the field some.
All right, Frank, 3 to go, holiday weekend. Got to get some focus for this football team and try to get across the finish line again. And I'm sure that's the challenge for head coach Doug Peterson this week, is maintaining that focus down the stretch.
Yeah, and this is one they should win. I think. Look, I know there are 3-11 football teams. You don't say that very often, but you're right, JP. This is one they should win. I think they've got the better team. Let's be focused and go get a win here in Vegas. I hope that happens.
All right, Frank. Have a great one today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
Frank Frangie joining us from Allegiant Stadium, the Death Star in Las Vegas, just off the Strip. One of the fantastic new show places for the National Football League. Today, a battle of teams far from relevant.
Well, the Jags closed out the black hole with a win.
They did.
You can let the Raiders know that it doesn't matter where you move to. You can run, but you can't hide. They're coming for you.
Here come the Jaguars.
I'm trying to come up with reasons for incentives here.
That's what happens late in December when this team is this far out of the race. But that's where they are. Coming up next, it's Jaguars Radio Network coverage. We'll have countdown to kickoff, top stories of the day, Fred Taylor's take on the game. We'll hear from Brenton Strange, the Jaguars' second-year tight end, Andrew Catalon of CBS Sports as well. And the final word before kick with Jags head coach Doug Peterson. The Jaguars and the Raiders coming up in Week 16. Thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense, a rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken